Hi folks. So this is going to help you get through the plant versus animal cells virtual lab that we're doing for this cycle. So I'm just going to go through each of the slides and let you know what I'll be looking for. So we're comparing plants and animal cells in this lab, and you can read some of these little comics here. Animal cell to the plant cell. I feel there's a wall between us. Hopefully you find that funny because plant cells have walls. And then down here it says when comparing plant and animal cells, it says plant cells can do photosynthesis. Both plant and animal cells perform cellular respiration. And the animal cells, calling him an overachiever because he can do both. It's funny, trust me. Okay, moving on. So the directions again, if you see the outline with the pink outline here, you're going to be making sure you're writing something in that box. And usually it says like type something here. I want you to delete that before you type something there, okay? So on this slide, it says do now list 3 differences in organelles between plant and animal cells. And you're going to use the pictures and your notes that we've taken to help you. So you can pause the video and figure out what do you think are the differences in the organelles between a plant cell and an animal cell. And you have to find 3 of them. So make sure you delete the type your response here in each of the boxes and write down what you find. Okay, so hopefully this is close to what you got as far as the differences between plant cells and animal cells. So plant cells have a cell wall, animal cells do not. Plant cells have chloroplasts, animal cells do not. Plant cells have a large central vacuole that they have a lot of water in, and animal cells only have a few smaller ones. Okay, and if you remember from our Shrinky Dink activity, one of the last things that you had to draw were centrioles. There's centrioles in an animal cell, but not in a plant cell. So that's not on this slide, but that's another tidbit that you might want to remember. Okay, moving on. All right, I'm going to present this just so we can read it a little bit better. So this is going to be the central part of our lab here. It says 6 students were looking at a drop of pond water through a microscope. They were amazed to see many different types of tiny single-celled organisms moving around in the drop of water. The students wondered what they would see if they had a more powerful microscope. They wondered if the insides of the single-celled organisms looked the same as the insides of the cells of plants and animals, like water lilies and fish. They knew those were also living in the pond. Okay, so here's their conversation. Lanny says, I don't think they have any of the same cell structures as plant and animal cells have. Dorothy says, I think they have a few of the same cell structures most plant and animal cells have. Seamus says, or Seamus is probably the better correct version of that. I think they share many of the same cell structures as plant and animal cells, but also have a few unique ones. Nick says, I think the only cell structures that they have that plant and animal cells also have are the structures used for synthesis of new materials. Belinda says, I think the only cell structures they have that plant and animal cells also have are the structures they use for respiration. Brian says, I think they have all the same cell structures that most plant and animal cells have. So I want you to write down which person do you agree with most and explain why you agree. And I know we don't really have too much to base it on except for that paragraph at the top, okay? So we know that they are single-celled, they're tiny, they can move around, okay? So you have to figure out who do you agree with, all right, and then tell me why. Number 2 says describe what you think you would see if you could look inside a single-celled organism with a powerful microscope. What do you think you would see? So you're going to write that answer too. All right, so now we're going to move on to our investigation. And the introduction here, it says plant and animal cells have many organelles in common, including the nucleus, the cell membrane, the mitochondria. Some organelles found in plant cells, however, are not found in animal cells, and vice versa. These differences can be used to distinguish between cells that come from plant cells and animal cells. The figure below shows animal cells from the inside of the human cheek. Your task, First, investigate different plant and animal cells under the microscope. Next, document the traits of an unknown microscopic organism. Then classify it based on what you know and observed about the characteristics of plant and animal cells. All right, so this part you are going to be looking at an onion root. And we're using the same microscope website that we've used before. So you're going to open this link. And when we did the microscope lab, this is where we went and used the microscope. So you should be familiar with this. And we have to scroll down a little bit here. We're going to go to the Explore. And I'll tell you why, because that's what it says here. Click the Explore button. Now we're going to open the slide box. We want the onion root. Okay, so we're going to go in here, open the slide box. We need to go to Plant Slides, and then we're going to go to Onion Root. All right. And then it says slide the coarse adjustment knob bar on the 4x until the onion is in focus. Slide the fine adjustment to give the onion root more details, and then switch to 10x and then to 40x. So you're gonna, get this in focus, and we're gonna move it around a little bit, and then we're gonna go to 10x, get it in a little bit more focus, and then 40x. And then we can see, some of these cells here. Okay? And then we move on to the next slide and answer some questions. Notice the border around each cell. What is the name of this plant cell organelle? So you can see this blue outline, that's the border they're talking about. You're going to answer that question. Notice the dark center in each cell. What is the name of this organelle? So you can see this purple blob is what they're talking about. You're going to give that its name. Notice the clear space in each cell. This is filled with water. What is the name of this large plant cell organelle used for water storage? So you can see that it's clear in some of these areas, and there's something there. So you're going to name that structure. And then we are going to take the slide off, and we are going to pull out the onion root. So we're going to remove the slide. We're going to go back in, get plant slides. So I noticed there's a typo on here. I'll have to fix it. We're looking at plant cells. So we're going to go in to the box and get plant slides and the plant cells. And what we're going to see should look like this. And then as the last one, they want us to go all the way up to 40x. So we're going to go to 10x, kind of move this around at 40x. I'm going to adjust the light so I can see inside better. Here we go. And then we're going to answer some questions. Again, notice the border around the cell. What is the name of this organelle? So you can see this outline around the cell. And notice the green dots in the cell. What are the names of these organelles? Can you see all these little green dots in here? That's what they want you to name. Okay. And then using your observations from above, list the organelles that you can see that plant cells contain. So you've named several plant cell organelles. You're going to write down those that you could see. Now we're moving on to human cheek cells. So we're going to take this off the slide. And we're going to open and get animal slides, and we're going to go down. Nope, we have to go into the human slides, don't we? There we go. And they want us to get, let's make sure I read it correctly, simple squamous epithelium. That's a really fancy name for your cheek cells. So simple squamous epithelium. We're going to focus a little bit better, and then they want us, yeah, look they made another, they just copied and pasted and made the wrong typos in here. I'll have to fix that. So we're going to go all the way up to 40 again with this one. So we're going to go to 10x, kind of move these around, go to 40x, so we can see them even better. Some fine focus, maybe a little more light. Oh, these are so small, aren't they? Okay. So notice there's a border around the cell, but how does it differ from the border in the plant cells? So you can use this picture here even to help you. Notice the dark center in each cell. What is the name of the organelle? So in here, they're talking about the little blue circle. On this one, it's a little harder to see. Actually, I think I'm going to go up to the oil immersion level so we can see a little bit better. It's still not as perfectly clear as it could be, but a little bit better. I actually like what they have on here better. So what is the organelle? Was this organelle present in the plant cell as well? So they're talking about that dark circle. Okay, here's your unknown organism that we're going to try and identify. So you need to click and drag where the nucleus is and where the chloroplast is by these arrows. All right, so now we're going to look at that organism, and we have to decide if it has these particular parts, okay? Actually, no, not yet. We are going to look and see, okay, what does a plant have, what does an animal have, and then our unknown, what does that one have? So we have to do plant and animal first, and then our unknown. So cell wall, you would write yes or no, chloroplast, yes or no, and so on, okay? So then, as you observed, the unknown specimen contains some features of plant cells and other features of animal cells. Use the evidence summarized in the table from the previous slide, as well as your scientific knowledge of the differences between plant and animal cell structure, to make a claim about whether the unknown specimen should be classified as plant-like or animal-like. And then you're going to fill out the graphic organizer on the next slide. So, the guiding question: should the unknown organism be classified as plant-like or animal-like? So your statement would be, the unknown organism should be classified as, and you're going to either fill in plant-like or animal-like. And it needs to be a complete sentence here in the claim space. Your evidence. What evidence or what structures, the organelles, does the unknown specimen contain or not contain that make it either more plant-like or more animal-like? So you're going to say the organelles that the unknown specimen contains that it makes it plant-like are, or that makes it animal-like, and you're going to explain those, but make it a sentence, please. And then your reasoning, you're going to restate your claim. So you're going to say the unknown organism should be classified as, and then you're going to say because it has these particular organelles, which it makes it more plant-like or more animal-like, therefore this is probably a plant cell or an animal cell, something like that. Okay, here's the reveal. This is called euglena, and it is found in pond water, obviously. Here's some information. Euglena are unicellular, single-celled organisms. They carry out all of their life functions on its own. Contains lots of similar structures to plant and animal cells, and it has a few specialized ones as well. So you can take a look at all the different little structures. This eye spot is different. It's going to sense light, just with the little photoreceptors that it has there. It does have a contractile vacuole to pump out excess water if it gets too full of water. Look at it, it's got chloroplast, so it can photosynthesize. It has a flagellum, so it can move around. So it's a very unique little creature. All right, now we're going back to our post-assessment, and it's the same as from earlier. So I want you to read through what these kids said, and I want you to write down which person you agree with most now, and tell me why you agree with them, and describe what you would see if you could look inside a single-celled organism with a powerful microscope. And that's all, and let me know if you have any more questions after this.